Oh, I looks like I was muted. Alright, I have a headache. Spookie's gonna be here in a second. We're gonna be talking about if I'm indeed an incel. Welcome to the Smeth Lab. It's nice to have you in. Yep. Yeah, so my PayPal does not exist anymore, and I cannot use PayPal anymore unless I get a new bank account. I don't think PayPal is a good solution for stream donations, I guess. It's a pain in the ass to set it up so it doesn't show your real name. And then they just ban you and you can't use them, and they have my $5. Whatever. Music's a bit dramatic for PayPal story, losing $5. Just waiting for Spooky. It's alright. It's dramatic as the music. Weird choice. Yeah, I can't donate. I can't be a tier 4 sub on Destiny stream anymore unless I make a new PayPal. That's the most annoying thing, like not being able to schizo dono to streamers. I guess YouTube still works. Google Pay. Whatever. Oh, it was a blessing then? No, I don't know. That's a good way to promote yourself, I think. Do you need that to happen to you? Just change your PayPal to a business account and connect Streamlabs to it, and then get $5, and then in a day or two you'll just not have a PayPal anymore. I think it might have been because I kept trying to change my name and I wasn't sure what was happening, because it changed my business name but it didn't change my name. So I just kept like clicking it, and maybe it's because I clicked it too many times. Maybe they're just so fickle. I don't know. I've been getting migraines. Anyway, I think that women shouldn't hit men. I don't think that should be controversial. Yeah, it'd be more annoying if I lost my PayPal later down the line, yeah. Let's see, hold on. Co-ed boxing. Probably a bad idea. Probably a bad idea. The reason that I have feelings about women hitting men isn't men hitting women is going to cause more problems for women. Men are going to hurt women. Men are stronger, so it also puts them in a position to like control women too. It's worse. And because of that, men learn lessons from society to be more reserved, and you just have it drilled in you. Do not hit women. You need to express your anger in different ways. You cannot resort to violence. You can't hit people. I find that a lot of women, because it's not as pertinent or it's not as immediately important, they don't get those lessons and they start hitting their boyfriends and stuff. I mean, it doesn't matter. The boyfriends will be like, oh, it doesn't matter because she can't hurt me. A lot of men say that. But I think it just spreads violence and it turns violent, and it's just unhealthy. If we're going to treat women like adults, just don't hit people. It's not, I don't think it's too controversial. If you want to talk about domestic violence, it's probably better to focus on the crimes that actually cause damage and hurt people. But I think if you want to talk about social dynamics and society, then you're probably going to have to talk about the role that we all play. Spookie's late. Yeah, I guess so. Spookie's a bit late. You know, an influencer boxing in Twitter added me. Maybe I should start training to do some boxing. Hey, what's up, Sarah? You think I should do influencer boxing? Who do you think I should box? Drinking ketamine right now, creatine. But I just got it a couple days ago. You can't super chat because I'm not monetized yet. I need 1,000 subscribers before I can monetize. I already have close to enough watch hours. You missed me talking about it, but I did have a way for you to super chat. I made a donation link. And I connected the Streamlabs to PayPal, but lo and behold, like a day after doing that, my PayPal is they're like, we're no longer doing business with you. If you use this bank account, we'll no longer accept you as a PayPal. The only way I can do it is if I make a new PayPal with a new bank account. I don't know if they're gonna like red flag my social security number or what. They stole $5 from me. Hear this happen to streamers all the time. I guess I should try something else. The only thing that sucks is I can't super chat in other people's things anymore. It's annoying. Oh, it looks like Spookie's here.
Sorry about the delay.
That's alright, alright. Alright, hold on. Just setting you up.
for sure.
So what were you doing? Anything?
I tried to squeeze a shower in before, and I um overestimated my quickness with that, I guess.
That's fine. So we're here to talk about. Well, I made the title "Am I an Incel?" So
Hmm.
I met Spookie like a month ago, and we got into a heated argument, and I liked that, so I contacted Spookie and asked if she wanted to do a stream sometime.
Yeah. I think we were talking about like well, I
I was
guess
screaming at you about therapy or something.
yeah, I remember that part. I think we were mostly talking about kind of the ways that women are online and how that affects men. Um, and then it kind of got into like a little bit of a side tangent about who has the right to like diagnose people. Um,
Yeah. Well,
but
I was just sort of alluding to this, but I think a lot of my interests in my social commentary are very niche, um, and I don't really. I think if we're going to talk about if I'm an incel, I talk about a lot of incel topics, and I talk about a lot of like men's rights topics, but I recognize that those are niche. Like, um, like one topic I'm eager to talk about is that I think women hit men a lot too much, like way too much, and I think that just spreads violence. But it like domestic violence, like men can hurt women more, and so if you want to solve domestic violence, that's probably where you're gonna be looking. It's just as a man, I just emotionally I want the equality. I think women hitting men kind of makes violence kind of become part of the norm in relationships.
oh
Like
yeah, I agree.
men, yeah. And it's not really that crazy of an idea, but I mean, obviously, that's not the foremost issue as far as domestic violence. But it's something I'm gonna talk about sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
Or no,
Um,
no, you gotta be heated. You gotta disagree with me.
well, so here's the thing. I think when it comes to, so I would say I would definitely call myself a feminist, and I would say that, I certainly acknowledge that we've come quite a ways as far as women's rights. I wouldn't say that women are like, you know, super oppressed or anything still or something like that. But I do think that in a lot of ways, the sort of men's rights movement uh, is something that like was born just to be contrarian towards like feminism. And in that
Mm,
regard, I take issue. Like I think that like, there's so much more that could be done if we just sort of like all agreed on some sort of equity and came to some agreements and just work towards that. But then, instead, if we're just trying to be petty and worry about like, oh, well, who has it, let's play oppression Olympics here and say who has it worse, and then like,
mm.
do all that. We're not going to get anywhere with anything. Um,
Do you think that? And I'm not confident. This is not a loaded question. Do you think that when men talk about their experience, because like I was saying, the women hitting men is niche compared to the overall problem,
mm.
probably. So do you think that when men talk about their feelings like that, then the feminist response kind of pushes them away and makes them go down that road of being more like contrarian, or do you think
Oh,
they just kind of go them themselves?
no, I mean, I definitely think that there are plenty of feminists that I disagree with, right? Like, I mean, we can look to like Andrea Dworkin, like who did the whole political lesbianism thing and said that every instance of like every sexual interaction between a man and a woman is necessarily rape because of all of these like that's, there's obviously crazy shit that is just not productive and also just not true. Coming out of feminism that I disagree with. But I think that to, you know, I guess maybe in some sense I'm doing the same thing to men's rights, right? But like, um, I think that when we're focusing on, the exception to the rule or like the people that are unreasonable, it's like okay, so people just want to be mad, you know? Like, um,
All right,
but
listen. I know you think I'm an incel. You said it a couple days ago. I think.
when?
I think so. And maybe it was someone else.
I didn't think we'd talked since that time earlier.
There was another time, and I popped into chat, and there was one guy asking for like advice because he like met a girl, and he
Oh
went to
yeah.
her. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think you call me an incel there.
I think I called collectively the people there incels, to be
Yeah,
fair.
everybody had such dramatically different opinions. Listening
Yeah.
to men on, I can definitely agree with what you said. Listening to every man there feels the same as what you said, though. That's the thing. So listening to men give another man advice about dating on a Discord call with 9 people in it is
Yeah.
excruciating. But not
Yeah.
only is it excruciating for you, every man there also thinks that all the other men are excruciating because every man there think like so. It's not just a man thing. Like everybody thinks they know what the right
Oh
way to
yeah, of
do it
course.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I guess something that I feel like from the first time we talked, we didn't really fully, I don't know, finish the conversation. I know that you were saying how, you think that some in some cases the way that women are online, like especially when they're, maybe seeking validation in some way or like using their physical appearance to, I don't know, get special treatment or something like that. That's like m makes I don't know, you took umbrage with that. Um,
I don't remember this. I think it might have been stupid. It's entirely possible. But um, I think men also get jealous. Okay, I know this is what it is. Um, I've been being more thoughtful ever since the last time we talked because I've been doing this streamer bullshit, and it's forced me to just be more thoughtful. I have more time to be thoughtful.
mm,
But men are jealous when women are sexual online. Um, I am because like it's just like you men want that, but we can't do that. It's
do you mean jealous? When you say jealous, do you mean like jealous in the sense of if someone that they like is getting attention from other people, or do you mean jealous of
no
the
no no no
ability women have to do that?
the
Um,
ability. So
mm.
like men sending dick pics is something you should be ashamed of, but like women can post like nudes and be flirtatious, and it's like something to be like. It's not. I mean, there are people that'll shame them, but like I don't know. It just makes men jealous because they don't have the ability to really do that.
I think I think like a lot of the difficulty when it comes to women using their physical, whatever, being
Wait,
sexual online and
I am jealous, Sarah. Okay, sorry.
well, I think a lot of the weirdness comes out of, there's sort of like there are two sides to it, right? Like there's um the sort of behind closed doors side where most people are going to be like giving positive, some sort of positive feedback or reinforcement or whatever it is, um, in private, right? So it's like if you send something to someone personally, or maybe, even just people that post things in a public way, they'll have all kinds of people in their DMs and whatever, and like, giving them that positive reinforcement. But then as soon as, push comes to shove, or like there's any sort of discussion of like, oh, is this virtuous or something, right? Like then they're condemned by those same people publicly when there are other people around to hear their opinion on it.
All right,
Um,
we got someone in chat saying
yeah.
that it's the key and lock analogy. I'm not familiar with that analogy, but he says it's not jealousy. We see it as stolen valor. It's not an accomplishment for women to be promiscuous, but they act like it is. I
Mm.
think there's something to that. I think the way he's saying it is more antagonistic, but maybe there's something to that. I mean, I feel part of what he's saying. Part of me hates what he's saying, but part of me agrees it.
I'm trying to understand like stolen valor, isn't that usually,
I don't know what he means by that.
referring, is that not usually referring to someone that pretends to be like a veteran or something? Like, um,
I don't know.
they're taking the, I'm not
But
sure.
women's can act like it's an accomplishment. This is such a feminist message, Ride. Because his name's Ride. Because so so something that I don't know if you're gonna I hope you don't. Something I hate on behalf of women is when like young girls like when you were 15, when I was 15, a 15-year-old boy, I saw the young girls around me start to like sexualize themselves, and they think that this is like you see this moment when click in their minds. They're like, "Oh, if I show my ass, people like me, and this is cool. Like this is special about me." You know what I mean? And it's like it's just they're now like because they're encouraged and reinforced in that way, and they think it makes them special. I mean, I don't know. It's I think it's kind of messed up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't think that the sexualization of anyone underage is a good
Well,
thing.
I mean,
And I
like,
think,
you
but
know,
I get what you're saying. Like that point at which like a young, an adolescent girl or whatever is
yeah,
gonna realize that like she has something of value in her,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
attractiveness or whatever. Yeah, I mean, I think that like on some level, I don't know who's to blame. It's probably like a whole combination of stuff there, for that sort of thing. But also, I don't know that, obviously when we're talking about adults, I don't know that there's anything bad about a person recognizing that value and trying to, leverage it to their benefit. You
Hmm.
know what I mean?
Hmm. There's nothing bad about it. Um, it's just that the differential makes it weird. The differential in that power for between men and women. But like, I wish that I could just agree with you, but um, it's just like for instance, like a good analogy for how I feel is sex work in a utopian world would be fine, but we don't live in a utopian world, so there's a lot of problems with sex work. You know, so when women use their sexuality to uplift themselves, it's also kind of holding them back, and also like it kind of it holds them back, and it also makes men see them in the way that they shouldn't be seen. And I don't like treating women like that. I actually don't. Um, I don't know.
I mean, so I'm very pro sex work. I think that like,
Hmm.
I have no problem with it. I think, I haven't personally
What kind
partaken,
of
but
sex work? Like any kind?
all of the above. I mean, obviously anything that's not involving a minor, right? As long as it's consenting adults, I don't care. Um, and I think that I think the problem ultimately seems to boil down to like we're we can't seem to disaggregate some women or some women who happen to be sex workers or whatever from women broadly. I mean like and I do it too, right? But like I think that you know it's possible and it is the
Yeah.
reality that there are some women who whether it's in the context of being a sex worker or just that's how they are, that they're fine with being treated one way, and there are others that aren't, and that we should ultimately respect that either way. And the same would go for men, I'm sure too. Yeah, but I guess like
Well, the
the
thing
difficulty
is,
is how do you parse them out?
well, the thing is, and I'll just read chat real quick. Sarah says people want positive reinforcement. People want options for potential mates. Yeah, I agree. Um, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. I think sex work is a good way to talk about this because this is a sex work is the most dramatic way because what we're really talking about is just kind of like certain like dynamics of flirting. It's not really
Yeah.
dramatic. If we talk about sex work, that is dramatic. So,
Mhm.
sex work. My issue is that sex work can hurt you. It can hurt both. This is something that people don't really think about. I believe this sex worker can hurt themselves for long term, but they can also hurt the client. Like they can do something that like haunts the client forever. Um,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So
we see examples of this with like, I don't know, like maybe OnlyFans girls or something that like get someone paying them ridiculous amounts of money, right? Like that is that, and then they're like just all their money is gone because,
That it,
like
or
sure.
not only that, but just like actually like a in person like having sex. Um, it's just like they could do something in a way that just causes the person permanent like emotional damage in some way. Like I like in and it could happen inconsequentially without them realizing it. Um, for
Like
because just because it's so emotionally vulnerable. So
mhm.
like the analogy that I'm thinking in my head is therapy. Therapy, you're being you're paying someone to sit there and you be your thought prostitute, and like they're
Mhm.
trained to be responsible with that. Um, and with that level of intimacy, the same even greater the level of intimacy when you're having sex. So you can really you could cause someone to get worse and stuff, you know?
I guess, well, I mean, I guess the difference is seems to be that like I understand the analogy you're drawing, right? Like that there we should be considerate of what the possible implications of things are whenever we're doing something involving another person. Um, but I guess are you saying that like I don't know, let's say there's some customer of a sex worker, like let's say full service sex work, like they have a sexual encounter and then they start to develop feelings for them or and then they're like heartbroken because it's not reciprocated or something.
That certainly could be the case. It could be. Well, I think inherently, people, a lot of men won't agree with me, but I think inherently, sex is going to release chemicals that have a certain kind of attachment and closeness.
Mm.
Um, like you can be comfortable with that and like not dwell on that, but I think it's kind of there, and it's just you're just incredibly vulnerable and intimate. But so given that you're vulnerable and intimate, you could say something. You could say something that you don't think is going to hurt them, and that one sentence you said is going to be a sentence they remember for the rest of their life, and they're going to replay it back and think about that when they're washing dishes, and
Mhm.
like that kind of thing that like causes a permanent change in someone. That's
Mhm.
why a therapist has to be careful about what they tell you. They can't.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to tell you what to do. They're just supposed to kind of let you go where you want, sort
I
of.
guess I'm not sure where I mean, that just seems to be something that could be the case like anytime anyone talks to someone, right? Like,
No, it's just because sex is just so intimate. Like you're really trusting someone. It's not just a normal conversation. When you're having sex and talking, it's not a normal conversation. You've already gotten past all the normal social boundaries that you have with people.
sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a added degree of like closeness or, whatever comfort there, I guess. But I don't know. For me, sex, I definitely don't view sex as something that entails like this emotional closeness. Like
Mm,
I think like there's plenty of instances where that it does cause that for me, and there is like obviously a difference in how I would, interact with someone who I've had sex with just on a comfortability level versus someone who I haven't. Um, but I think that there like a lot of this also I think is worth bearing in mind like people also are going to have some responsibility to be aware of themselves as well, like when they engage in anything. Like how much of this any sort of like bad outcome of someone, maybe as a buyer of some sex workers thing, like whether it's, paying for sex or paying for porn or whatever. Um, how much of that responsibility falls on the part of the sex worker and how much of that falls on the part of the consumer, right? Um, like for me, I feel like, something for myself is like I don't ever like commit to any sort of like monogamous anything with someone that I exclusively know online. And like I know plenty of people do that, and that's their prerogative. But like I know that I need certain things out of a relationship. And so like this idea of like, you know, trying to be exclusive with someone online is like I could never fathom it. So I don't even entertain it. You know what I mean?
mm,
Um, I just think that like, you know, and it's hard because there are certain things that you can't find out until you've like been in a certain situation and then you realize that like you're not built for it, right? Um, but realistically, when we're talking about grown adults, like there is some degree of like obligation on the part of the consumer to know, am I going to become like, super attached or have this super what is it, like
I
a
don't agree.
parasocial?
I
You
don't
don't think
agree.
so?
Well, sure. No, I don't agree. Uh, I don't. It's like therapy. It's just to me it's the same as therapy. It's like an equal or greater level of intimacy than therapy. And the reason we have so many protections around therapy is because it's a dangerous place. But that's not to dismiss because I think that there's even more danger for the sex worker. There's more danger. There's
Sure,
like
yeah.
if you're a therapist and you're not trained, you're gonna get traumatized for sure.
Mhm. I mean, yeah, I think we both agree that there's the more danger on the part of the sex worker, and that's all, you know, we agree there. But I guess I don't really understand how, when we're talking about a therapist, hmm, I just don't see them as being the same. Like I think that, you know, eh, I guess in a way it can be therapeutic to consume sex work or something, but I don't really see how they're comparable. Like, I
Hmm.
mean, it's sort of like saying,
So you've never done sex work or or engaged with it or anything?
I mean, I've never paid for like full service sex work or anything, but I mean, I go to strip clubs all the time. It's like one of my favorite
Mm-hmm.
things to do. I subscribe to some people on OnlyFans,
Mm-hmm.
watch a lot of porn. Um,
Specifically, I'm
so
thinking of the full service sex work where you're
mhm.
alone in a room with someone for like multiple hours, like naked. Like that is a serious level of intimacy. Like um to go into that without knowing like being knowing how to handle that and protect yourself and protect the other person. I think that like you can't really expect the client to know how to protect themselves. I think if you want I think sex workers, honestly, my ideal that I'm talking about would take like you would have to go to college to be a sex worker in my scenario here. Um,
Well, I
I
mean,
wanna address. This is an
sure.
interesting topic, but in chat we've got some interesting points about inceldom, like or pertaining to inceldom.
Yeah, sure.
Someone said men don't have bodily autonomy the way women do. Um, we are told that there is something wrong with us if we say no. Even male child sex abuse by women is treated like they should be thankful. Right. Okay. Well, women have a lack of bodily autonomy in a lot of ways that men have autonomy. But there are ways that maybe you're right. Like the teacher having sex with the student thing.
Yeah, and I mean, I know what you mean. I think that, and I disagree with that. I don't think that should be the case. Like, it's obviously, we should expect, I mean, if we don't expect adult women to abide by the same standards as we expect adult men to when it comes to like bearing the burden of, not committing statutory rape, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like, then that's just another form of infantilizing women, I think, in a lot of ways. So, you know, in addition to obviously it being harmful to these young boys, right? So yeah, I totally disagree with that end of it. But I think on the autonomy part, um, I don't know, I kind of, in a similar way to how I would say that realistically, if there are a lot of instances of women um feeling as though they like were pressured into doing something they were uncomfortable with or whatever sexually, and it's ultimately because they just didn't say anything, right? Like they
Mm-hmm.
maybe weren't like enthusiastic about it, but they also didn't say anything about like not being comfortable. Um, and
I
of course
can
I understand.
there's sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, I totally
You can just
understand
bulldoze
why.
me. You can just bulldoze me if I interrupt you.
Okay, I was just gonna say I understand like why there's a lot of, whatever, like fears about like, oh, how is he going to react if I say no or whatever. But at the end of the day, if you don't say anything, we can't expect anyone to be a mind reader, right? And in a similar way, I think that like, so I would say that like women obviously should also be expected to express what they are and aren't comfortable with, and because again, can't expect men to just read minds out here.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that it's clear whose fault it is most of the time when, there's just a miscommunication or like a lack of communication. Um, that being said, though, I think the same thing would go in a similar way for like men who feel like, oh, if I say no, then I'm going to be seen as like weak or something. I mean, you like,
Okay, here's an example I thought of.
sure.
Women. This is something that really makes my skin crawl to hear, and I could probably dive into why right now, but I haven't thought about it. Why? But it makes my skin crawl when I hear it. When women say, I think it's just a me thing. When women say that like stuff like, "Oh, I don't give blowjobs" or something. Yeah, I figured it out why. Okay, but like if a man were to say that he doesn't give women orgasms or something, it would be like, you're an incel, you're never gonna get laid, like no one will ever have sex with you. But like, so if a woman were to say I don't give blowjobs, why? And that, like, men can't say like, oh well, you suck. Like, I don't. We shouldn't say that. Like, yeah, but
Um,
men can't have those kind of boundaries in sex.
of course they can. I mean, there's plenty of I don't know how many guys I've heard say that they don't give head, like
Right. I guess you're right. I guess you're right. But what about just like I don't care about the girl's orgasm.
uh I think that I mean I think that ultimately it's hard to say because I don't know. For me, I would think that everyone to some extent cares about the person that they're with having a good time. You know what I mean? Like for their
Mm-hmm.
own, whether it's because of their own ego, or because of, just caring about the person, right? Or some combination.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's, I think, pretty normal. And I don't think that the average person disagrees with that. But um, I think that like there is sort of an element of it where, sex, at least like straight sex, right, is sort of framed in such a way as to be oriented around, I mean, a lot of people view sex as ending when the guy comes, right? And, if the woman does, that's great. If not, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's just sort of like a matter of framing. Like there's, it's just an expected, it's an expectation that already exists that the woman is going to, you know, do things that are going to be like serving that end. Whereas like
Yeah. In
obviously a
chat,
guy is going to be doing stuff to try and get himself to come, right? Like I don't
yeah.
know.
In chat, if you have an example of a time when, as a man, you were not comfortable saying no, I would be interested in hearing it because I feel like I'm pretty comfortable saying no. So I'm not really relating.
Mm.
Um, yeah. I men that say that they don't want to give head, by the way, like it's so much easier. It's so much easier to give a woman head than it is to give a man head. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to say that. Um, I think both social pressures and biological aspects that make bodily autonomy and related issues different for the sexes. There are both social pressures and biological. What biological reasons?
Maybe they mean like just how, it's usually easier for a guy to come than a girl or something.
Hmm. I think
Not
that that's
necessarily all the time, but
I feel like that's partly no wrong.
okay.
um, it's what Sarah said. Um, and then someone else said true. I don't know what's going on, but um, I think that women not being able to have orgasms during sex is a lot of that's on them. Okay, so men, most sex acts that you get as a man. Okay, the most I don't know if you've ever heard this because I don't think you have like straight sex a lot. But
Yeah, I never have.
okay. Most men will agree that blowjobs, it's hard for them to orgasm from just a blowjob, which is strange, right? But because men love them so much. But I think the reason is because the man has very little input. The woman's like just doing the whole thing, and the man's just kind of sitting back, and so you're just kind of trusting someone else to like read your body and get you all the way there, which is the experience that women have during most sex acts. Just
Mhm.
biologically, the way our physiology is, women are sort of depending on the man to get them there, and that's a lot harder. So I think women should like take it upon themselves to try to be part of it and get themselves there. Like, you got your hand, get your hand down there. You know what I mean? Like you gotta. It's gonna be so much better if you have some input in your own body.
Yeah, I agree. And, as someone like the vast majority of the time when I have sex, I'm taking like the dominant role in it. So I can totally get where you're coming from with that. Like, I can think of plenty of times where like a chick is just kind of starfishing. And I'm just like, okay, well,
What does that? What does that mean?
it's like, it means when you're having sex, you just lay there and just kind of play yourself out. You
Mm-hmm.
just lay there and wait for stuff to be done to you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, it's like, you know, uh, I don't think it's like super common, but like there are women that do that, and it's just sort of like I at least need some feedback. You know what I mean?
Okay,
Um,
Nick said, okay, chat is being the you that I thought you were gonna be because I was hoping you'd be more antagonistic. I'm
yeah, please
pleasantly
do.
surprised. So Nick is saying it's because you're incapable of giving woman orgasms. Okay, you know what? Most of my literally 95% of my sexual experiences have been all about the woman to the point where I get soft and then I don't even have any pleasure at all because I'm not thinking about myself at all. It's just 100% the woman. Um, and I would assume there are more and more men having this problem. And I think it's because men won't speak up about their emotions. They won't prioritize themselves. They won't advocate for themselves. I mean, so because if you want to come, you got to just be like you got to be focused on yourself to some extent.
Mhm.
So yeah,
I feel like we need something to disagree on that's more spicy, to be honest with you.
yeah. Well, we were fighting that other time. You were
Yeah.
I was saying that men's feelings matter and you were saying they don't and we were disagreeing regarding like therapy something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the therapy thing was a bit of a side point, but I was just saying that like men's feelings don't matter as far as like how women behave themselves online or anywhere, I don't think.
Hmm.
Just like I would say that women's feelings don't matter in regards to like how men behave themselves. Now, like obviously, this is not including like something that's gonna be, like if you're interacting with a person, like you do have to be aware of their feelings and like what's going on. But I just mean like I think we were talking about in the context of like women posting nudes somewhere or something like that. Like to me,
Right. Okay.
that making men feel some type of way, um, I don't think really is relevant. Like I'm not denying that they do feel that way and that they have the right to feel that way, but I don't think that that is a should be like the impetus for the woman to modify her behavior, um, in that case.
Or Sarah says to talk about her. And this conversation can hybrid between her and and this topic if we want. I don't know if she wants me to do that though. Um, but but if she says it will. But okay, men. Okay, you're you're saying that women shouldn't care when men do that, but women do care.
Can you give me an example?
Um, Men are criticized constantly for these their engagement in these online spaces for being not inclusive to women and for being to like a boys club and stuff and talking about their dicks and jerking off and what porn they watch. I know that you're like a coomer or whatever and you like always talk about your porn and whatever, but um like how do you feel when you're talking about that with a man? I mean, you're talking about it with me, but I feel like this is a different context because it's more intimate because there's no peanut gallery. Like if we were
Yeah,
in a chat with a bunch of people, it would be different, right?
it might be. I mean, I think that I I generally I'm just very comfortable talking about sex and sexual topics. It doesn't make me feel weird or anything. And like, there's only so much I can really like comment on when it comes to like guys or dicks or like things like that, just because I don't have one nor do I have any like experience
Mm-hmm.
with them. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but
Does it make you
I have
uncomfortable?
no, not really. I mean, where I feel uncomfortable is like if someone starts talking about wanting to do something involving me and their dick. You know what I
Well,
mean?
with
But
you, well, of
like,
course, that's harassment.
yeah, but like beyond that, anything short of that, I'm pretty much I'm comfortable.
Okay then. But what if you're posting nudes and someone comments like that?
There have
Um,
been instances where I've posted nudes in
how do you feel about
some.
that? I'm not saying I have an answer to how I think you should feel, but how do you feel about that?
I mean, I think that like if I'm posting something somewhere where it's viewable to like anyone it's viewable to has the right then to react to it. Like there have been instances where guys that have seen nudes I have posted, somewhere, whatever, in some server or something like that, right? There have
Hmm.
been plenty of times where dudes that I'm, chill with have like been like, oh, you're hot, whatever. I don't mind that. I know that that's, I don't like try to get anything beyond that or whatever, I'm just like, oh, for sure, thanks, man, um,
Thanks. That
but
doesn't sound like you like it.
I mean, like, I don't get anything out of it. Like, generally I'm posting them because of, wanting attention from women. But, I appreciate the compliment, of course. Like,
Mm,
I'm not like I'm not like offended if someone is like, says something about it because I knew
yeah.
that they would be able to see it when I put it up.
I get a lot of men talking about my dick and stuff. It
You
doesn't
do?
really bother me. Yeah, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, but
There's
it's
like
sort
there's
of
like
like,
there's like a meme of guys talking about my dick, like just like fantasizing about it or like talking about how big or small they think it is. Um, yeah.
yeah,
Um,
I mean, like I think that, it kind of goes back to that thing where I feel like there's some responsibility on both parties there. Like,
okay,
if you're posting your nude somewhere,
my mind is
then
getting
you
back
gotta,
to where we were. Okay, I think that a lot
okay.
of women will use their sexuality to like. So you're saying that you have no interest, and I'm believing you. From
Mm.
in the attention from men necessarily.
Yeah,
No,
no, I
maybe
mean,
maybe part of you just likes a little bit of attention. Okay, when I hear the comments about my dick, I like the attention. I don't like
I mean,
get a
like,
sexual pleasure from it, but
exactly. It's obviously an ego boost to get complimented in any
yeah, yeah,
context,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But,
yeah,
beyond that, there's not like some like, oh, let me, DM you now or something
yeah.
that I,
Okay, but I think a lot of women do weaponize their sexuality, to and but like it's encouraged by men and they're taught to do this. But I think women see their sexuality as like their locus of power, and they will use their sexuality to like. I got someone in chat saying that Sarah's a goddess.
I agree.
I think that's related to this. I think that she's got a bit of a cult following from some men going on, um, and that's fine. Like, do what you want to do, and those men are probably happy about that, I guess. But um, I don't know. I don't.
I mean, so on the when you're saying that women see the sexuality as their locus of power, I think that that's absolutely true in a lot of cases. Like I think that it's we don't have it in terms of physical strength. We don't have it in terms of I think it's changing for sure, and women are certainly entering, like sort of in the working world positions of power quite a bit. But certainly like the expectation there is like still sort of favoring men. And even just like when it comes to day to day, I think that this is like much more amplified online for sure.
What
But I think
expectation is favoring men?
just like well, I guess and it can obviously be detrimental to men as well. but like the expectation that a man is going to be like in a position of power, right? Like, I mean, we see, you know, still haven't had a woman as president. We still see fewer, CEOs and people in those positions. And part of that is obviously going to be on women for not, doing certain things that could get them promoted and
Okay,
whatever.
okay. I
But
believe I believe that those jobs suck. Um, I believe. Okay, okay. Here we go. Hopefully, you'll disagree with me. I think that the best paying jobs and stuff are not great lives. Um, for the most part, some of those jobs are real cushy and you get a nice place in life. But most, like being a Sigma male grind set guy or a woman person, is like grinding your bones into the dirt. And to become the president is not a pleasant life. I don't think I think that women have so like but there are way more homeless men and there are way more like super rich men. But there are way more women who are in the middle. And I think it's
yeah,
easier for women to find that happy middle ground because we just like they'll just get that kind of support for pretty easily. They'll have a comfortable ease into that life. But men are like make it or break it, and we don't. And so I think that men get into those like high income roles because they I don't know if maybe they can do what women do and they just choose not to. But I think men would be happier if they chilled the fuck out.
I agree. Generally, I think, and I agree also that, I mean, I think Sarah taught me this actually, but like, when it comes to like even things like IQ, right? You have more men being on the extremes, right? Of like being above average or below average, whereas women tend to be more, like most of them tend to be somewhere closer to average, right? And the same thing sort of seems to be the case in a lot of areas, like, like you were just talking about with like success and career and everything like that. There's probably more men that are like complete failures or like excelling, and then like more women that just sort of find
Mhm.
some niche somewhere that is good enough, right? Um,
I think they
I
live
think,
happier lives, women.
yeah, I mean, I guess you could point to like suicide rates and things like that for sure. Um, I don't really know how to how to reliably evaluate happiness. I think that we just have different issues in a lot of ways, and we have a lot of the same issues, but um, yeah, I mean, I guess like the issue or the difficulty presents itself now more so when women try to like excel in particular, like and try to like break through that comfortable medium, right? And there's plenty of women that are totally content doing that, and I'm sure there's so many men that wish that they didn't have the pressure to do better than that.
I
Um,
think a lot of that pressure comes from women.
oh, for sure.
Okay, because women. So you're not gonna disagree with any fucking thing I say, but women don't date down, and that's good, and I understand
I
why. And
disagree with
I
that. I
wouldn't I
disagree with
wouldn't.
that so much.
Okay, then that's good. I'm open to being proven wrong about this, but I've seen a lot of evidence in my life and stuff. It just seems like most women don't want to date a loser man, and they see that loser man thing as someone who like makes less money than them, and if even if that's not true, most men believe that, and I believe that. I that's what I feel, and that's how I have observed women around me.
Mhm.
So when if you believe, if you're a young man and you believe that women won't date down, you're gonna have to earn more than them. Settling for that middle ground where you're just happy, you just get a decent job where you're making 80K a year, and that's your life, and that's a good life. That's no longer well. First of all, 80K a year is probably going to be fine to get a girlfriend and have a family, but the your brain, your young male brain is going to be like, I need to fucking get the best job, and you're not going to go for those easy jobs. You're not going to go for those comfortable jobs. You're going to go for whatever. And I think it's because women put that pressure on men. And I think that because women put that pressure on men, they benefit from it. So then women are the ones who reap the rewards from men putting in all this work, who then work to provide for women. And then women are like, oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Um, Now, give me an orgasm or whatever.
Um, yeah, I mean, like I know that sort of dynamic you're talking about, it exists. I just think that like the average person tends to end up with someone who is in and around the same degree of like, success as them. Like, I think it's like I think it's less common to see a relationship of any pairing, right, where you have like one person that's just like making, like upper middle class and another person that's just like working a, part-time job. Like I think that's uncommon. I think especially because most of the time people meet in the workplace, right? Um, and I also just think that, in terms of attractiveness level, right? Like people tend to sort of go for people in the same bracket as them. I think probably just because the people that are uber wealthy and extremely in the spotlight, like celebrities and, the top whatever percent of wealth that we see in like tabloids and all this stuff all the time, they tend to be the examples of those exceptions, right? Where like you'll have, some super wealthy, successful dude with like a trophy wife or whatever. Um, and then they're what are on TV and in media all the time. But I don't know that in
Sure,
reality it shakes out that way.
sure, but in real life, I've talked to women about this at like parties and stuff. I remember like a couple different times they're just talking. There's just the converse. I didn't start the conversation, but it just ended up about women talking about their dating preferences and talking about how they refuse to date men that make less money than them now. Um, but men don't do that. Men expect to date a woman that makes less money and like do like provide for and uplift them. I feel like women just expect not to, and they expect to be provided for more. Though, I do agree that in practicality or how it actually plays out, I think that those women that say that shit, and I think there's a lot of them, I think those are the fem cells. And in reality, the way it plays out is in the workplace, and you're probably making the same amount or whatever. And when you get into a relationship, then you're gonna be content. But when women talk about who they want to date, they talk about men that make more money, and they
Well, yeah, but I
also
mean, to be fair though, I mean, when we're talking, I think it's like different to talk about like your ideal like dream person and like someone that is actually gonna be an option for you. Like I don't know, like isn't it? I would assume that men, when they're, if they were to like imagine or fabricate like their perfect wife or something, I mean they would probably choose various features that are just like unrealistic, like someone that weighs nothing and, has somehow still all these crazy curves and like all this stuff. And I agree with you that it's going to be more oriented towards physical appearance. Um, as whereas like women are going to probably like value other types of things more, like someone that's, super successful or whatever.
right.
Um,
I wish I could get
but
by on physical appearance alone, because I got that made. Someone in chat just said, um, in men in general are I don't know why he said it like this. Men in general are above women because we are judged by. Okay, he probably means status wise. Men in general are
yeah.
above women because we are judged by our accomplishments. So by dating age, we already have become accomplished. Women get by on their looks without doing anything.
Well, I mean, it's not doing nothing to maintain like these sort of extreme like expectations for looks. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know
but
about
it's
you,
just.
like,
I mean, I used to be a femboy. I used to do that a lot more, but
mhm.
it's I don't know. It's just. I mean, you're pampering yourself when you do all these things. I mean, maybe. No, actually, no. I disagree. Um, you're. It's just not as hard. It's easy to do. It's easy to figure out how to do. Um, you just, you just watch the
So
YouTube video and you learn how to do the
let
thing.
me let me put it this way. I think that there are some women who are just gifted genetically and um on top of like the things that they do to maintain their appearance, obviously. But I would agree that like that's less work than becoming successful as a person in your career, right? I agree there.
Mm-hmm.
The the issue is like when to be genetically gifted, like you're like the vast minority, right? The va like most women are not going to be that, and most women as a result are not going to be given this sort of treatment of like being, having like this easy go at life by just having, people clamoring after you and whatever. Most women are going to be facing, the prospect of having to support themselves and having to make something of themselves, just like men are. I think
Right.
that there's more of a pressure to men to do better, but,
But
you know,
but there's also men just expect, men did not only expect, but men want to fucking simp. And when I say simp, I mean that in such a general sense that is beyond when we talk about simping online. Like, I mean, men just expect to be providing for a woman. No matter how I frame it, you're gonna put it into a box. Um, like I'm putting into a like box whenever I say it, but like men just expect to be dating a woman with less money, less experience. Men expect to end up dating a slightly younger woman. Um,
well, do you think they should raise their expectations or shift
I think
where
they
those
should. I think that they should. I really do. I think that if they did, they'd be lonely though.
maybe?
That's why I think. Well, other people have called me an incel, and I think that me telling men to raise their expectations and be more lonely is kind of a MGTOW kind of thing, you know.
I think it's like a good bit of advice for anyone to say that you need to be comfortable being alone and like figure your shit out before you try and get into a relationship. I mean, I
No,
used to
that's
have like
not
a
what
lot of, you know,
that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, just like not figure your shit out. Like you might even have your shit figured out, but just don't settle for a woman
yeah.
that is pretty, that is like making less money than you, is like slightly younger, and it's gonna be really dating someone younger sucks. I don't
Mhm.
know why men like that. It sucks. Like why like the more young they are, the more annoying and obnoxious they are gonna be to you. You know. Um,
Yeah, true.
and dating someone older is great.
I
Because you're gonna
agree.
learn a lot from them, and so like a lot of women do that, and they have the option to do that, but men don't.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's probably due to like a lot of women, there aren't a lot of women that make it to like some older age and are still single, right? Like
Yeah, because they
um
date the older men.
yeah.
So men
Mm.
should just stop dating. What men should do is we should adopt all the same expectations that women have for men, and only date older, more successful, richer women. And all women will be lonely, and all men will be lonely, but men will
And
have
eventually we'll come to
taken.
some compromise out
But yeah, but I no
of
okay. I heard
necessity.
someone say this before, and they said it like it was controversial. I don't
Mhm.
really agree. It just makes perfect sense to me. Monogamy and marriage is like a socialist's wet dream because it's social equalizer, and it equalizes people like across class boundaries. But women are the only ones that benefit from that in the most part. You don't.
Yeah, I mean, for sure for a long time, like marriage was like a mechanism of like upward mobility that women had that I don't think men have ever really had in the same way, for sure. Um,
Stop agreeing with me. You have to call me an incel and disagree with me.
you're an incel, okay? No, but I think that today, like I think that people act like maybe you'll disagree here, but like I think that today people act like it's so difficult to like, like they're just destined to be alone or all this stuff. Like even I think that even a man who is setting expectations higher in the way that we just talked about
Mm.
wouldn't have that. I mean, there's so many fucking people. And people will sit at home and sulk and be, bummed about like their lack of options or they're only going to be going on, these dating apps because they don't want to get out there. I feel like one of the biggest problems is people don't know how to fucking flirt with people in person anymore.
Yeah,
And
it's hard. Well,
yeah,
what do you do?
I do some of everything. I mean,
No, I mean like so you're into women. Um,
yeah.
so like how do you, what is your cuz so like tell men like that are watching that are an incel. So like
Mhm.
how do they go up to a woman and flirt with them in real life?
So first it has to be in the right context, right? You can't just if there's a woman who looks like she's like on her way going somewhere, not the right time. She's
It's in
not
the
there for you.
workplace. It's in the workplace.
It's in the workplace. Fuck.
Well, that's where most people meet people, so it's hard.
I think,
This
well, I
is a
think that
hard.
meeting someone in the workplace is fine, but like while someone is in the middle of something, I think is like kind of
Okay, so
you
how do
might
you bridge that gap?
I mean, it would just be a matter of like asking them to go to a bar with you or something after work, or if there's like some work social event or something like that, that would be the time to do it, you know?
Hmm.
Um, but I think that like for me, I mean, for the most part, for me, you know, when it comes to in-person stuff, I just go to like clubs or bars. And I think the best piece of advice that I can give anyone is like when you're in, you know, the context of a bar or a club, you see someone you find attractive or you want to like get to know a little bit, get some compliment ready about them, not just like, oh, you're pretty, but like, you know, something specific.
Hmm.
Approach them, pay them that compliment, maybe buy them a drink, depending on, you know, if you're near the bar or not, and then move the fuck on. Like, I think the biggest like detriment is like when you spend too much time interfacing with someone directly, you don't know what they're if they're like down or if they're interested or what.
Hmm.
And you just by giving yourself more time and more opportunity to be a dumbass, like you end up like I've done it plenty of times where like I end up saying something fucking stupid and I'm like, oh, you know,
Hmm.
damn. But like if you express your interest, make it sweet, short, walk away. If she's interested, she'll find you in the club. You know what I mean? She'll come after you, and that's how you know A, that she is reciprocating that interest, so you don't have this sort of big question mark. And it sort of takes a lot of the pressure off of you to like keep a conversation going or whatever. Um,
Pay the lady a
and
compliment. So
then
Sarah,
fuck
so
off.
Sarah said, I hate complimenting women.
Why?
Uh, because they get it all the time. Okay, okay. So this is. I feel like you are coming from a place of privilege there as a lesbian. Okay, because
Mhm.
I think it is a lot. I don't fucking agree with you. You fucking stop. Okay. I think as a man, women are very suspicious of you. So what my advice that I tell to guys with flirting is, um, don't embarrass her, embarrass yourself, and be comfortable. If you can embarrass yourself and walk away and be fine, like, you know, if you do something that's gonna embarrass her, you're probably not. You shouldn't be doing it. But like, if you're gonna make that leap and ask someone out or something, like, just be willing to embarrass yourself and move on. In a bar setting, it might be easier. What you're saying with like buying someone a drink, it might be more natural. But I
Mhm.
think that in a bar setting for guys, women are really on guard. Like, I mean, it can
Yeah.
happen, but it's just like, and also women, I don't think will seek out the man if it's a man because they'll expect the man to come to them. So like, if
Mhm.
you move on,
Oh, it's try a lesbian bar, okay? No one's talking to anyone.
oh,
Uh, yeah, no, it's I don't disagree with you, unfortunately.
I have a history of having hooking up with lesbians. When I was a femboy, um, there was a type that I found that they thought they're lesbians, but really they just hate men. They hate men and they want a weak man. So like normal men like with like muscles like they'd be like I don't like that, I'm intimidated. But then like when they see like a femboy they're like, oh actually, no, I don't, I kind of like this, you know. So yeah, that's
That's
definitely a thing. Um,
It's interesting. To be fair, I've never been a femboy, so and I have never been with one, so you know, it's not something I've experienced, but I don't doubt that it exists. But I guess like I get what you're saying. I do like the thing that I think something I see all the time, and I think every woman would resonate with this on some level, is that it's like very common. Like every time I go out to a bar or a club or something, inevitably at some point there's gonna be some woman there that like gives me the like help me like this guy won't leave me alone look, right?
mm,
And I think, you know, and I do recognize that I have some degree of I have an advantaged position compared to men because women aren't like immediately just skeptical or suspicious of me, right? Like because I'm a, you know, I'm a chick. Um
right.
I know that that's true. And I definitely use that to my advantage all the time, for sure. Um, but
Um,
I think
I
the way to, well, I was just gonna say that like the thing that I was saying about just pay the compliment and move the fuck on, that's how you kind of get around that, I think.
I don't know. The compliment, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not into the compliment thing. Okay, no. No.
Well, just some form of expressing your interest, right?
Yeah. Um I find that as a man, I'm saying as a man because I'm comparing it to you.
Hmm.
I find that it's best to to get someone's number and then you get a date and get it into a more intimate context where you can meet each other and um, yeah, just once you get someone's number at least yeah, it's not gonna work for everybody, but
Yeah, I mean, I think once you get someone's number and if you can carry a conversation, then you're pretty much golden. Well,
yeah,
not golden, but
you got to treat women as equals. If you start off with yes, if you start off with compliments, it makes you seem like you're lower than her. It's kind of true.
I'm curious why that person thinks complimenting someone puts you lower than them.
It's actually kind of puts you above them too, because you're
Yeah,
evaluating them.
exactly.
But also it often comes off as groveling.
Sure. I mean, I don't know. I think that like it comes off as groveling when someone gives a compliment and then it acts in such a way like where they're expecting some like they feel entitled to something in return. You know what I mean? Like if you can just move on and be unfazed regardless, like then okay, you gave a compliment, you're a nice person, whatever. But if you are someone that's going to pay a compliment, expect a girl to be clinging to you the rest of the night because of that or
That
paying you compliments back, whatever,
that word that
when
you said, pay a compliment.
Mhm.
That word, your language, it reveals like a part of how we're thinking about it. Like if you're paying someone a compliment, you're giving them something. You know, like um,
I mean, yeah, it's like, certainly it's giving something, but at the end of the day, it's not the type of, it's not like some thing that you've agreed upon beforehand. Like, oh, I'm going to meet you at this bar, I'm going to compliment you, and you're going to do this and this
right,
back.
right, right,
It's
right. So
like,
you don't, we don't, I don't want to have that contractual agreement, and it puts that pressure on like a woman, like paying, like you don't want to fucking pay for sex, and so I don't want to compliment a woman for sex. Like I mean, maybe you want to pay a woman for sex. I don't. Um, so yeah, I just hate complimenting women. I mean, I
how do you
do it
feel about
sometimes.
what about like complimenting people in a platonic context?
Um, I'm actually very comfortable giving criticism, and I'm comfortable giving positive criticism. Uh, but just a compliment, like to meet someone, like if someone does something I'm impressed with, I might. I guess now I'm comfortable evaluating people, but I don't know.
What do you mean by positive criticism?
Positive criticism.
Like
Okay, so the
constructive?
difference, yeah, the constructive, like, so the difference between that and a compliment is like you see someone you're interested in. And the compliment, really, what you're just saying is, I'm attracted to you. But you, instead of saying that, you just go up to them and like, I like your dress, I like your shoes or whatever, and
Yeah.
I just rather, I mean, it's almost dishonest in a way, um, but I mean, we're all dishonest, but I don't like it. But positive or constructive criticism would be more like I don't know. I'm thinking about a bar scenario, but there's not much really to be constructive criticizing. Say you meet someone at the gym, and you ask someone to spot you or something, and they do like a good job of it, and you're like, I really appreciate that you're doing a good job. I really, I like how you're doing this or something. Um, that I think is better than if you're just attracted. Just I've gotten a lot of mileage out of the brutal honesty thing. But that's when you're gonna be brutally honest,
Like
though.
negging? You mean like negging or something?
Um, no, 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 no. Well, I mean, sometimes, but I only neg when it's clear that I am. Um, like, yeah, well, like it becomes a game at that point, and especially with women that I love it when women try to neg me, and then I try to neg them, and they know I'm trying to neg them. Hello?
But, sorry, I don't know what happened. My Discord just relaunched.
I thought you left because I said I negged or whatever.
No, no, no. Sorry about I don't know. My Discord just sorry. Is it
Yep. Sometimes women will try to neg me, and I neg them back.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of I was expecting to get more into it, like a more heated back
Yeah, me
and
too.
forth with you. But I mean, I think generally, I don't know. I think that like because my view on most of these things is that there's some degree of you know responsibility on both on parts of both people or both sides, whatever. It's kind of like easy for me to agree with almost anything and then just say, oh, but also I would consider this, you know.
Hmm.
So I'm sorry if I'm not very disagreeable. Uh,
Maybe I was just being an asshole that time.
yeah, a little bit, but it's all right. We all have our days. I also have a tendency to be an asshole when I'm whatever. Sarah can attest to that.
Hmm. There's nothing owed upon receiving it. I still don't agree with the compliment thing. That I just hate it. Yeah. So negging's great. Um, you should. You don't like it?
Um, I guess I know that there have been times where like I'll really be into someone and I would never neg someone just because I feel like I don't know, I just feel like it's like a little bit manipulative in some
Okay. Okay.
way,
Okay.
right?
Okay. So the compliment. Okay. So the compliment I described. I like your dress or your shoes or whatever. Is just as manipulative in my opinion. Except the negging is more like I'd rather my policy is always just embarrass myself. And when you neg someone, like just walk up to someone and like, oh, you could have done this better or something. I mean, it's obvious you're being an asshole, and so it's like you're embarrassing yourself. At least that's how I see it. I mean, whenever if I'm ever doing that, like it's obvious that I'm being an asshole.
I think that negging is still going to be more manipulative in the sense that like you want a response to the negging that is positive, you know? So like
Mm,
people neg and want a positive reaction, whereas like people give compliments and want the reciprocal sort of positive reaction, you know? Like there it's like not it's not the inverse there. And I think that like it's sort of it just maybe it isn't manipulative in both cases, but it just sort of feels more manipulative to say, oh, okay, I'm gonna like, say something negative about someone so that they feel like they have to like work to, you know, get my
no,
approval or something.
right.
And like,
That's not good. That's not good. Yeah, that's not good. But like it just if you're being honest about the fact that you're negging, I think it's fine.
yeah,
Um,
let's see. What can we argue about? Do you have any spicy
if
takes on like trans people or anything?
Yeah, I do. I do.
You do?
Yeah, I don't believe in trans people. I don't believe them.
What don't you believe?
Um, I think that trans people hate themselves.
Uh, Maybe some of them.
I think if you have dysphoria, it's because you hate yourself.
I don't think dysphoria is necessary to be trans. Not in a clinical sense, at least. But
I I I am much more amicable. I mean, people. I'm not gonna like tell a trans person. Like I have friends that are trans, so I'm not
mhm,
gonna like go up to a trans person like bully them or whatever. But I understand or I'm more understanding of true autogynephilia acts because I am an autogynephiliac, and I remember being in kindergarten thinking, having fantasies about being a girl. I talked to my doctor, when I was a femboy and everything. I had resentment for myself, I hated being a man, and I talked to my dermatologist about getting hormone treatment, and I got pushback from my parents. Um,
mhm.
but I'm glad that I did because I'm happy with my body. Like changing my body, shaving my legs every day to be a femboy and shit, it sucked. Um, and I've never been more happy than accepting myself for who I am and how my body is. And you could say I did have dysphoria, and it wasn't permanent for me. I don't think that you can be born with dysphoria. I don't think. Here's a spicy take. Okay, I'll get as spicy as I can get for you. Okay,
Yeah, go for it.
I don't think that trans people's brains are different. Like when there are brain scan studies where they're like they take a
Mhm,
bunch of trans people and they're like, oh, these trans women have the same brain as a woman, they have similarities. The same thing
mhm.
can be done with ADHD, and you can take people with ADHD and scan their brains, and they'll say that their brains are similar, but there's like a million reasons to have ADHD, and it's just a cluster of behaviors. It's not really a scientific. Hold on.
Mhm. I mean, I know that the whole brain scan thing is like very preliminary. So I wouldn't really die on that hill. But I do think that like what people seem to like miss about transness is like um that people will say things like, "Oh, I don't understand how someone that's male can like want to be a woman. Like
I
they
can
don't know what it
understand.
feels like." And I think that it's more so something that's born out of experiencing what it's like on the other side and not like having, not liking it to the extent that you want to, you know, fill the other role societally. Um,
Look,
and there's some,
I keep talking in this conversation about the ways in which I'm jealous of women. I
mhm.
think that my life would be better if I'm women. I think women are happier. But that doesn't mean I want to change my body so that people will treat me the way I want to be treated. And I think if I did change my body and it did transition or whatever, people still wouldn't treat me the way I want to be treated because I'd be a trans woman. And the only way that would, and this is, this is cynical, but I think the only way I would actually be treated that way is if I was like rich and started young and passed.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, do you think that it's like, because obviously there are like many trans people, not a ton, but I mean, there's plenty of trans people, and they seem to, even ones that don't ultimately pass, right? They seem to be happier after transitioning than before. Do you think that that's like, mm, I don't even know how to ask the question. I
Okay,
mean, I would think that that's
so
indicative that there's something else there.
detransitioners get a lot of shit. And they'll talk about how they're no longer happy and they regret their decisions, but they'll talk about how they felt that they were encouraged and they feel like they were pressured not to say that they're unhappy. They were pressured not to admit that they regret it, and
By who?
saying by especially online trans communities online, they'll get a lot of shit for talking about their regrets. Um, I believe that if I transitioned, it would be really hard for me to confront any regret. I would have to repress it all. Um, it it would first of all, if I were to detransition or if I were to express my regret, it would isolate me from the community that is embracing me. Um, and it would pariah me.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah, I
that it'll
mean,
temporarily probably make people that hate themselves and feel dysphoric, because I think that a big part of being trans is you want to be a new person. Um, may that person be the opposite gender or whatever. You don't want to be the person you are, so you want to be that person, and you have to change your body to be that.
I don't know. I feel like it's more so just coming into the person that you ought be. Like I hesitate to make like ought claims and stuff like that, but I think that like um everyone experiences this to some degree, like whether it's in the form of being trans or not. But there's some sort of maximal version of ourselves that I think we all have an idea of that's
I
like
I think the
like,
maximal version of yourself is the person. If the maximal version of yourself is someone you have to change your body to be, I don't accept that. I don't like hormones. I'm all for people wearing whatever clothes they want, doing whatever behaviors they want.
mhm.
But as far as medical transitioning, I just think that you shouldn't. Like I said, I've never been more happy and comfortable with myself than when I decided to allow myself to be comfortable not shaving my legs.
Sure. I mean, like, and that's great, and I get what you're saying. Mm, it just seems like to say that, oh, something that involves like taking medical steps to achieve is like not a good thing to strive for anymore seems like a little bit odd. I mean, I feel like there's plenty of things people do, like, even just, people dye their hair, or I dread my hair, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, and people go to the gym, people go on diets, people do all these things to realize the at least physical form of themselves that's as close as they can get to that maximal state. Um,
I just don't think that the medical transitioning stuff is so blasé. I think it's a big deal.
I think HRT, to my mind, is actually a lot more blasé than people seem to view it. But maybe that's just colored by personal bias or what have you. But when it comes to, you know, surgery, certainly I think that that's something that's a lot more like of a big deal. Like you can't reverse that. Um,
You can't really
but I
reverse
mean,
a lot of the hormone stuff.
that's not necessarily true.
If you grow
Um,
tits,
yeah, no, tits you can't undo. I mean, you can
yeah,
get top
it just
surgery,
changes
but
your fat distribution. It'll change your vocal cords. Like
oh,
it'll change your clit and make it bigger and shit.
mhm.
Like that. That's not gonna
Yeah,
undo.
sure. But so like fat distribution is something that does in a lot of cases revert if you stop hormones to some degree. And with, I don't know. I think that like frankly the thing that makes it seem more blasé to me is that hormones and taking HRT is like it's like a very gradual process, you know? And it's a process that you're actively deciding to continue engaging with every day if you're on HRT or every week for some people. Um, so it's like, while yes, I think that being on hormones for, an extended period of time is going to cause changes that you can't undo. It's not like the changes that you start to experience in very minute degrees at the very beginning, after a month, after a year, right? Um, these are things that you are experiencing these changes as they're occurring, and you're actively, by continuing to take the hormones, choosing to go further along those same changes. You know what I mean?
But it's like not only that, but like you're gonna have like major mood changes and like brain chemistry changes.
Mhm.
Like yeah, like it's. I think it's by all counts like horrible and unpleasant. It's like going through puberty again.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of those things are like very euphoric for a lot of people, you know. Like I
Why?
think that like re what do you mean?
So
Because
like
they
So if I hate that I am, let's go to the extreme. Okay, if I hate that I have my pinky finger, it's not even the extreme. We could do with limb, but if I hate I have my pinky finger and I want to cut it off, it would make me feel euphoric to cut it off. I don't think you should let me. I think it would be better for me to not hate my pinky finger.
I don't
But
think that's a fair analogy because it's like, when we're talking about things you can do to change your physical appearance, there are going to be things obviously that make you less functional, and there are going to be
okay,
things that make you more functional,
I want to
and
get
cutting
I
off a
want to get
pinky
to
makes you less.
I want to get to the the core of my beliefs here. I
Sure.
believe that gender is, like, we've been talking about gender this whole time. I
Mm.
believe gender is unfair. We levy all these expectations on people, and I think that, like, if you want to transition to change how society treats you or how you see yourself because how you see your gender, it's society's fault for putting that pressure on you. And I don't think you're born with that. I think it's just society's fucked up and gender's fucked up, and you
I
should
wouldn't
be comfortable. People
necessarily
should be comfortable with their body.
I wouldn't necessarily exclude societal pressure as being like a major contributing factor and even maybe the only contributing factor in some cases. But then what you have are people who, sure, maybe like some culmination of experiences they've had as like a child or whatever, into their adulthood and what have you, have led them to, or maybe just the way that they are, like their nature or whatever as a person is just more suited towards one gender as opposed to another, like their mannerisms, their whatever. And so they feel more comfortable like filling that sort of set of expectations because they come more readily to them than the other set, right? Um, and that might be a thing that's worth changing societally. But in the meantime, you have people that are then just there. I don't really see what's wrong with letting people make that change if, especially like I know there's a lot of like, debate around like kids being able to do stuff or not right now. You know, for the most part, I would say that like I'm generally okay with like hormones if someone's like 16 or something. But, it would also be like I'm not 100% on that. And then certainly I don't think kids should have access to surgery. But when it comes down to it, I think that like particularly for adults, even if the reason is something that's, societally informed or societally caused, so what? I mean, that's the same reason why people want to be like in shape and all of this stuff, and they go to the gym and they, people will go through to crazy lengths with, bulk and cut cycles and all this other shit and like counting their macros with their food and all this stuff just to like achieve that. And that's societally informed, right? Like it's not really necessarily about being the most healthy you can be, because a lot of people end up having ways in which they're making themselves less healthy
Yeah.
by not being worried about certain things through that. But we say that people are allowed to make those decisions, and I think that this falls under the same sort of category.
If you had a kid that was trans, that wanted to transition, the kid's like 15, what would you do first? The kid says that they want to transition. What would you do?
I mean, I'd probably try to talk to them and, understand why they feel that way, and then,
Yes.
get them some sort of professional opinion, right? Like a therapist or psychiatrist, whatever, um, to make sure that, whatever. And then assuming that there's, it seems to be like I think that like if it was something that appeared out of nowhere, I would be skeptical. And I would be skeptical of their expressing that to me. But I think that there are a lot of indicators that are present way before becoming a teenager when someone is like for most like teens that say like they want to transition. Most trans people that I know in real life would tell me that as children, they would like just like go to bed wishing that they were, that they would wake up the other sex. You know what I mean? Um, it's not something that just sort of appears out of nowhere. And if it did, I would be more skeptical than in the alternative situation. But either way, I think I would just go and try to get professional opinions and see what they say and go from there.
Well, I think I'm a rare, well, I don't know how rare, but underrepresented perspective of I wanted to be trans, and I didn't, and I'm happy that I didn't. And
I think just really quick, I think you'd be surprised to know that same.
okay, um, so how do you think you would feel right now if you had?
Frankly, I don't know that I would be. I think it was the sort of thing where like there was a while as a teenager where I was like, I'm a trans man, gotta do this, whatever, I want to be a boy.
Right.
Um, and then it more so just evolved into something where I don't feel particularly strongly one way or another. Um, I am on testosterone, but I'm on the lowest dose, and my maximal form would be as androgynous as possible. Um,
Hmm.
and as much as I think that non-binary stuff is like, ugh, like I think a lot of people that identify as non-binary are not like trans in the same way. They're just kind of trying to be edgy and stuff in a lot of cases. I don't have a problem with people doing it, but I think that it's like, not quite the same. Uh,
So you're base.
maybe,
Okay. Do, you don't? Do you mind me talking about you? So I don't mind
no,
you
no,
talking
no,
about me because, but this can get weird. All right.
go for it.
Um, I'm not trying to get weird, but it can hurt your
Yeah,
feelings.
no,
And
go
so
for it. I'll tell you if you're getting into,
yeah.
uncomfortable territory. Don't worry.
So for you, is it like taking like steroids? Is that how you feel about it?
Mm,
I don't think people should take steroids.
maybe on some level, because part of it is that I do use it in part to not plateau so quickly at the gym. But also I think the main reason that I went ahead and I live in an informed consent state. I didn't seek them out until I was in my 20s already. Um, and so, I didn't have to like go through like some crazy process. I just, got the prescription and said I informed myself about the risks and everything, and then, it was there we go, right? But and part of it is because I'm taking the lowest dose one can take, right? It's like the changes that I'm experiencing are very gradual. Um, because I want,
Mm-hmm.
I approached it wanting to be very cautious about things and not have any changes that were unwanted arise and sort of get an idea of like what are the changes that are going to occur? Do I want to continue? That's kind of why that's my view of HRT. And I think that, certainly I'm a little bit biased by that, because I realize a lot of people that start HRT start on a super high dose and they're just like going for it immediately. Um, I think so in part it is because I don't want to plateau so quickly at the gym, right? But that's
Mm-hmm.
generally speaking, I just want to masculinize to some extent. I also
You ever
like an
tried this?
unexpected creatine. I do I do use creatine. Um, but uh I think the unexpected change that I experienced actually was more so like psychological or emotional. Like I feel much more level-headed and
This is
clear-headed.
now I understand why you're so horny, and this is getting weird now. Okay, no, okay,
No,
I have a
you're not
story.
you're not wrong. You're not wrong at
I know
all.
I'm
Like
not wrong.
actually.
I have okay. What I told you before, like dating women that think they're lesbian and stuff. I've also ended up dating a lot of trans men, especially early transitioning, and a lot of trans men early transitioning, starting the hormones, are really fucking horny, and they don't know how to deal with it yet, and so like they're like, and so if you're in like hookup culture, you're gonna like, and you're a guy and a femboy, you're gonna encounter a lot of them. Um, yeah, I have made a video about that. About one of those dates.
I'll check it out.
You know, I said she told me that she started the hormones, and I told her I'm not interested.
That was Sarah fucking oh, Jesus Christ.
And then you
Ah,
say that you don't approve of steroids. Passive aggressive? I guess. Maybe.
what?
Well, if I tell you that if it's like steroids and then I say I don't like steroids, is that passive aggressive?
No, I didn't take it in any type of way.
Um,
I mean, I guess I would differ. Like, I think that I don't know, steroids are kind of a weird thing because so many people get to such an unhealthy like place with them, right? Because they're, but generally it sort of falls under the same thing of I feel like people should be able to make as adults informed decisions for themselves in that way if it's only affecting them, right? Um, but I can definitely understand why someone would feel like steroids are a bad thing because there's a lot of negative health effects.
no, but the need, the want to do. Hmm.
If are you saying that like the desire to
The
use steroids or whatever is like just reflective of some toxic thing societally?
it's like the dislike of your body. Yeah. Like so.
Well, yeah,
I don't like talking about like you.
I don't mind.
I know you don't.
Um,
So do you dislike your body?
no, I like my body, so I post nudes.
But when you started it,
When I started it, I was frustrated for sure at some of the things that seemed like I couldn't just change them by working out. So like fat distribution or,
hmm
um, you know, like again, like plateauing so quickly with like weightlifting. That was frustrating for sure. And I don't think it was something where if I never started hormones or anything, I would have like fucking killed myself or something. Like that's not what I was saying. It was just sort of a mild mm, inconvenience or something that, when I would like when I would enter my conscious awareness, I would just be like, man, that's annoying. But I guess for me, the main reason why I guess I decided to seek out hormones and see what happens was because I felt like if I just sort of had this feeling that like if it was something that had been in the back of my mind for a long time, and if I never gave it a try, I felt like I would live to regret it.
hmm. I feel pretty sympathetic to what you're describing, but also when you say you live to regret it, what do you mean?
Just that like it would be one of those things where as a, person that's maybe like in my, upper middle-aged years into my elderly years or whatever, that it would be something I look back on and feel like, well, that's a thing that, that could have changed my path in life and I never tried it and I wish I did. Especially because like a lot of the things around HRT having, some amount of efficacy are like it's really contingent on like starting by a certain age.
Yes, okay, but that argument, I've discovered that I've had that same thought process, and I discovered by talking to people it's a fallacy. Because no matter how old you are, someone older than you will tell you that they wish that they started transitioning however old you are. And
Oh
no
yeah, no,
matter
I'm not saying that someone shouldn't bother trying if they're older. I'm just saying that like if I went my entire life and never took just never tried it, I would regret it by the time I was on my deathbed or something.
what if you do regret it?
Regret doing it? Well, again, I think that so my approach to it is basically like again, I'm taking super low dose. The changes are
hmm
extremely gradual. I've been on it for around a year, right? And still have a pretty female voice and like all that stuff, right? Um, I've educated myself about the changes. I've observed what has changed in myself. And again, it's like every week that I would, I inject it subcutaneously every week. Um, every week was like, it's like a thing of like, I wouldn't inject it if I started to see any change that was like bad or undesirable for me. So I feel, and I all the changes that have occurred thus far, except for maybe that, my sweat smells worse, I guess.
Hmm.
Beyond that, I mean, I'm happy with all the changes that I've had, or just feel neutral about them. And I don't know. I just feel like as soon as it starts to be a thing that I don't want anymore, then I'm just not going to do it anymore. So I don't know that there's really a scenario, like I guess maybe in some situation where like me taking hormones has some like downstream effect of causing some serious health problem in me later. Like yeah, maybe in that case I might regret it, but I just don't think that that's realistic.
So for me, my general thought process is if we're talking about myself, okay, there was like a period of like a week where I started taking something called chasteberry. It was to like basically a home remedy hormone blocker.
Mm,
It made me depressed, so I stopped.
mm.
But and that could have been like a thing, like you're saying, taking it every day. But my general attitude is that it's you're wanting to change your body. I mean, not you, okay, but my problem that I'm having talking to you, my conflict I'm having internally right now, is you're not describing wanting to change your body. You're talking about body performance.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, it also is like wanting to change my body, and so far it's like I'd want my voice deeper if it could get there, or
Then I don't. I think
like
it's
things
better.
like that. But
Okay. You do you. I'm not gonna tell you to stop or anything. What I believe it's better to, if you don't like your voice, it's better to learn to love what you got.
well, yeah, like my thing is like I don't dislike my voice. Like I feel like if my voice, even if it was a couple octaves higher or something than it is now, because it used to be a little bit higher, um, I would not feel some nagging like, thing of it's not something that I've ever been self-conscious about. My real name is like, it's something that's a very female name, like exclusively. I don't mind it. I don't care what pronouns people use for me. Most people just use she, her. Um, and as far as like, I don't want like facial hair or like things of that nature either. Um, so I guess on some level, I don't know if I really count as like trans in the sense that most people would mean it. Um, and I don't really care whether people categorize me as that or not. Um, but I just think that it's a tool that I'm using to effectuate some goals that I want, just personally. And if I never get those goals, they're not things that I feel like are gonna nag at me or like eat away at me. Like again, my voice, totally content with it. If it was deeper, that'd be cool. That's kind of how I feel about it. Um,
Hmm.
I'm very like, I don't know, just kind of going with the flow and whatever happens, great. Whatever doesn't, all right. And I mean, I guess that you could sort of like see that in the
I hate what I'm
sense that
doing
I've
right now.
never
I hate what I'm doing right now. See me like
what.
leaning back and like stroking my chin, thinking about like
No,
how I feel about you, and then you like spilling your guts out, like telling me like about your, and then me just sitting back like thinking about like that's just so fucked up. Okay,
it's
um,
fine.
and no, it is. Someone asked you a question in chat. Do you mind if I ask you?
Go for it.
What gender norm or stereotype did you not believe fit you that caused you to want to transition? And what did you believe that changing yourself instead of those gender norms or stereotypes would be the best option? Or why did you believe that it would be the best option?
Well, as a person, both in I guess I've always been very something that's very frustrating to me and has been for my whole life is being viewed as weak or being viewed as incapable or being viewed as, dumber or anything like, I've come to the understanding that of course there are things that especially on like a physicality level, that I'll just never be able to do as readily or even at all in some cases as like a man. Like strength wise, I'm never gonna get there, right?
There are
And that's
things women
okay.
can do better.
Of course, yeah. But I mean,
Women aren't worse than men.
well, I think that maybe something that's interesting is like since I started taking testosterone, I've gotten a lot more comfortable being feminine to the extent that I am,
Hmm.
in a weird way. Um, and maybe it's like a psychosomatic thing where it's like, oh, I feel like, oh, I'm fucking shooting up the dude stuff, you know? So it's like,
Oh.
so it's just like, you know, I have more like leeway to be feminine and still be like the amount of masculine that I want, or it's less like of a, whatever. But
I can see
also,
that you're getting uncomfortable, by the way. I don't know if you're
well,
aware that you're.
maybe I'm just trying to think of how to phrase it in a way that's not like, I don't know. I think that like, I also just, you know, I guess I'm uncomfortable because it's like it still is difficult for me to admit that there are things that I'm never going to be able to do as much or whatever as men can do.
But that
Um,
that's that's awful. Like that, you shouldn't have to feel that way.
but I mean,
Um,
it's something that, I think I've come to terms with it to some extent, and ultimately I'm just trying to be the best that I can be given those restrictions. And like I feel like there was a
I
long time where I kind of felt like I wasn't ready to acknowledge those limitations, and then that was like sort of detrimental for me. Like I was like, you know, killing myself over, not literally, but like I was like going to the gym like fucking 2, 3 times a day, like on some crazy shit.
mhm,
Because I was like, if I just like go hard enough, I'm gonna be able to be as strong as a dude. And obviously that's not true. And it was like I was
mhm.
like, like fucking my body up over it.
Hmm. Why not just do steroids?
I don't want to fuck my body up that much. I do like my
Hmm.
body being, some amount of healthy now at least. But yeah.
There are things that I know that I'll never be able to do, or very unlikely, and just kind of forfeit that because I'm not a woman. Um, but my response is to talk about those things. I would rather change the world than I would rather change the world than change myself.
I guess I'm just more skeptical about like the feasibility of changing the world,
Well, I'm not
maybe.
gonna, but I'll pretend. I'll
Yeah, I
um
mean, I guess I feel like changing myself is like something within my scope or something.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Um, but I don't think that not doing that is like a worse approach or anything. I mean,
Look, hey, then you know, I can't I I support you. Also, I would like if society didn't make you want to do that. I would like it if women didn't feel like they're weak and stupid.
yeah, I think that might be a good thing to change for sure.
Yeah, it's probably a good close.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is a good conversation. I was expecting to, have some blood sports or something, but it's
Me
very,
too. Me too. And my headache was
very
getting
chill
worse and worse
conversation.
thinking about it. All right.
Well, good talk.
Good talk. I bet the house she could beat him in an arm wrestling match right now. I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? I'm not weak and stupid. You loved that? It's good. I was pretty scared um, talking about someone else like that, but I think it was alright. My YouTube channel, if you're not watching it right now, somehow, my YouTube channel is Real Smeth in one word. You probably are. Is he just going to ignore it? What am I going to ignore? Sarah's sweat is the worst. Smeth is incompetent, not malicious with his stream mistakes. What did I do? What did I do that's a stream mistake? All right. Nice seeing you guys. That's it for the Smeth Den. All right, get the hell out of my house. All right. As the kids say, fuck off. Go home. Leave. Come back. Leave.